What up, y'all, and welcome to another TBT Masterclass, Trumpet Masterclass. If you're new to the channel, my name is Aaron, and welcome to my living room. So, if you're just joining us, then today I'm going to be going over range and how I like to build my range. Also, some tips, some do's and some don'ts about playing high notes, and I'm just going to go through some things. Staten, what's up? What's going on? So if you're here, I'm just going to be talking about and giving you guys tips on range build. So if you want to download that real quick, then please, by all means, download that and hop right back on to the live stream. But I also have some questions here. I have one video submission. So we're going to be doing a few things here. Joel, is this good for noobs? Also, I can only play to high D on the staff. Yeah, I mean, it's it's good for it's good for beginners. Probably if you're a really beginner, like if you only have like two or 3 years under your belt. I'm also going to talk about an exercise that I've done and also talk you through kind of my story of how I built my range after injuring my chops like 2-3 years ago, and like I was back from square one, like beginning. So I'm just going to take you through what I did to build myself back up and even further along. Cool. Only been playing for 6 months. That's good, man. Young, hi. Good. Hear your advice. Cool, cool. So if you're just joining me, if you're just coming in, let me know your favorite trumpet players. If you have a top five, put them in the chat, or if you're watching this on a replay, put them in the comments so we can just get to know each other that way. All right. So I'm just going to talk about range today, and so for me, I'm not a lead player. So I'm trying to get up to those high notes, the double G. So that's the note that I'm reaching for nowadays. So I'm just going to take you through that process. So if you have any questions throughout the live stream or whatsoever, if you have any questions through the replay, let me know. Let me know down below in the comments, and let me know in the chat. All right. So it's good to see folks coming in and telling me your favorite trumpet players. Just a guy who loves music. He says Arturo Sandoval and Wynton Marsalis. Young says, from Italy, I'm a beginner, 5 years studying in a jazz school. Cool. What school you studying from? All right. So I want to set for the exercise that I'm going to be working on today. It's an exercise that I got during my undergrad at Illinois State University. And at first I was never able to really play high, during my undergrad, because I had so many embouchure problems that I had to fix. But my flexibility was off, my endurance was off. But what really did it for me in a negative way was I got my first like new horn, like professional horn, maybe a couple years ago. It was a Bach 180 37G. So it was lacquer. It had a gold brass bell, and man, like I love that horn. So probably the first and second day I got it, I practiced extremely hard that day because I was so excited. It was really nice to play on, and so I just played until my chops were like meat, like they were dead, which ended up setting me back so far, because I had worked so hard before. So that one day, I practiced really hard because I was just having fun with it. The next day I woke up, I couldn't play anything. I could not play not a single note. Staten says Miles, Clifford Brown, Winton, Lee Morgan, Chet Baker, and some others. Awesome, man. So what ended up happening is I I got this thing called a wind embrasion, and what happened was I was playing on the red of my at the time I was playing on the red of my lips of my embouchure, and so I was blowing so fast it kind of created like almost like a carpet burn. You know how you like slide on the carpet and you get this like carpet burn on your arm or on your leg? It's something like that. I had air that was so fast, it burned kind of my top lip, and it created a injury. And so every time I tried to play, anything I played, it hurt. Like my endurance was shot. Everything I played hurt like unbearably. And so, man, like it was tough. So during that summer, it was towards the end of the semester. So during the summer, I was like, I gotta do something. I gotta figure something out. So I had to change my embouchure, change my setup, and I was back to square one. I couldn't make a clear sound. It was like I was a beginner, like 6 months, just like someone who said they just started 6 months ago, just like that. Like I couldn't make a good sound, like it, and so I immediately tried chromatic scales and just got me up there incrementally, right? So I used that, and then as I was able to build my range slowly but surely, I was able to use this exercise that I'm about to show you and guide you through to really build my range, because now my embouchure was a lot better. I had a better setup, and I knew the techniques of how to play higher notes and be efficient with my air and all that stuff. So just gonna go through this exercise with you right now. So if you want to download it, it's the first link in the description. So you can go ahead and download it, and you might be able to download it on mobile, but I'm not sure. You might have to go on your computer to download it, and then look at it that way. Okay, because it's gonna come through your email. All right. So we got some few folks who just coming in, talking about their favorite trumpet players. Jack says, "Can you do an E major scale jazz band tryouts last week of school? I only know 8 major scales. Trying to learn E major." Sure, I'll play that. No problem. Carson says Maynard Ferguson. Awesome. Uh, excuse me. Young says my range is up to C, but still not used to hit with conviction. My favorites are Chet, Roy Hargrove, Tom Harrell. I love Tom Harrell. I think he's my top favorite trumpet player. And he says just saw last week live here. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play this exercise and just try to find my mouthpiece here. And so what I'm gonna do is practice my range on my 3C. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to be able to hit those notes on this mouthpiece on a deeper cup, because it will be a challenge. And so when I do any lead playing, or if I'm the only trumpet player, I use this mouthpiece right here. And this is what I use for lead playing. And so anytime I build my range, I want to build it on this one, because it will make me have to use my air efficiently, because it's a lot harder to play higher notes with this thing. It's a lot easier to play it on here. So if I work out the notes on here, on this mouthpiece, at a low dynamic and very efficient, I'm able to play those notes with ease on this mouthpiece right here. So this is what I'm gonna do. These are the first few notes. Excuse any wrong notes or anything that sounds terrible. Don't burn me too bad, but I'm just gonna show you the process of how I go through it, and hopefully this is valuable to you. And anytime I do mess up, I'm gonna say why I messed up and how I can make it better. And so I'm gonna kind of practice and think out loud for you guys, just so you can kind of go through my thinking process as I'm building my range. So, yeah. Victor asks, what mouthpiece do you use? So, I use my Vincent Bach 3C for like small group or like if I'm doing a solo or whatever. And then I use this Shilky John Faddis heavyweight model, and it's very heavy, and it's also shallow. So it's heavy and it allows me to project and get my sound to cut through the band a lot easier than other mouthpieces that I've tried, and I get the similar feel. I get the similar feel from this mouthpiece with this mouthpiece. So that's why I chose it. I got it from my mentor, a longtime mentor, years ago, and even has his name on here, if you can see it. Bowen, it should say. All right, so I'm gonna start with the first thing on the sheet, on the range exercising sheet. So it's gonna start with a low F sharp, and then it's gonna you're gonna go through. I'm gonna go through the partials, and then instead of, it's gonna be a 2-octave thing, so a 2-octave triad. But when I get to the top, I'm not gonna do an octave above from the 5th. I'm gonna just go a whole step up to the 6th. So something like this. And I'm gonna do it really slow and at 60 or 70 BPM. Let's see. Let's do it at 70 BPM. So if you want to follow along, recording on my phone. Okay, so with this exercise, I want to make sure that all the notes, I'm slurring everything, so all the notes are nice and even. They have the same tone quality, and it has the same amount of ease throughout. So that's what I'm looking for. Now on the PDF that you get, that you're gonna download, it's the first link in the description box. There is, I'm gonna hold the top note for 2 beats, and then I'm gonna descend right back down to the lower note. So I started on F sharp. Now I'm gonna go up a half step. So starting on G. Oh, and it's also important to rest after you play each line. So I rested, now I'm gonna go back and play it on G. So if you're playing, go ahead and play right now. Okay, starting on A flat, going up another half step. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. All right. So when you do these, you want to make sure that as you go higher, your air goes farther, and you want to keep the airstream just consistent and going. So think of the lower note very close to the bell, and then as you go higher, your airstream goes farther, and you need to blow faster. You need to blow faster when you play higher. Also, and this is what I'm going to get into, is the three do's and the three elements of playing higher notes. And so I talk about this in the video that I posted last week. I'm going to post part two either Friday or Saturday. I'm working on it now. I just scripted it out, and now I'm just working on producing it and editing it. All right, so we just did A flat. Let's do A, starting on A. So that top note is going to be F sharp. So there was a lot of you, I've gotten a lot of messages about troubles hitting the top, hitting the top line F sharp or the fourth space E and notes above that. I'm going to go into that a little bit. If this exercise is too hard for you, if you're a beginner, I'm going to go through an exercise that's a lot easier, okay? But let's start on, let's see. Got some questions here. Aina, I think that's how you say your name. Hi from Madagascar. Wow, that's awesome. Simone says, I just downloaded the PDF. I'll definitely work on it. Awesome. So this will help with high notes, right? Yeah. It will help with high notes. You just have to apply any exercise you do. It's all about applying concepts, the techniques to doing it. So you can usually just play if you know the right techniques to building your range and playing higher notes. You can technically play this for any exercise. It's not really about the exercise. It's really about how you do it instead of what you do. So, but this is a great exercise that I like to do, especially it challenges my flexibility and also helps with range. All right, so let's start on A, 70 BPM. And can everyone hear and see me all right? I forgot to say that before. How's my sound? If you can hear me, give me a number 1 in the chat. If you can't hear me, give me a 0. Okay, so 70 BPM, starting on A. That top note is going to be F sharp. Cool, I'm seeing lots of ones in the chat. Awesome, thank you guys. Okay, you want to make sure it's nice and smooth going from bottom to top. You want to make sure that when you're playing, you're not having different embouchures for different registers. You want to keep the same register. You want to keep the same embouchure set up from the bottom to the top. Simone says, do you have to use a slide while you're doing these exercises? You don't, but for me, I'm also focused on sound and how each note relates to the one before. So I'm tuning as I'm going along, as I'm playing. So you don't, but I think if you want to really increase or improve your intonation, it's a good thing to do, especially for your third valve tuning slide and your first valve tuning slide. Carson says, I use this exercise every day. It really does help. Man, Carson, thank you for letting me know, man, because this also helps me as well. All right, so let's do the same exercise starting on B flat. Starting on B flat, make sure you speed up that air as you go. The higher you go, the farther that airstream needs to be, okay? All right, 70 BPM starting on B flat. The top note is going to be G above the staff. One, two, 1, 2, ready. All right. Simone says, sorry, but can you explain what each of the tuning slides do? My teacher never really introduced it to me. I just found out that it makes notes sharper or flatter. So, okay, yeah. That's like actually a good way for me to rest while I do this. So, yikes. Okay. All right, so for tuning slides, well, this is your main tuning slide, right? So this is the overall tuning of the instrument. So when you make the horn or the notes flatter by extending it. So making the horn longer helps lower the pitch. But if you want to raise the pitch, you bring it forward, bring it in, so you shorten the horn, okay, to raise the pitch. So you lengthen the horn to lower the pitch if you're sharp, and you shorten the horn to raise. you lengthen the horn to lower the pitch, and you shorten the horn, shorten the tubing if you want to lower the pitch. I think I just said the same thing, but longer, longer, higher, shorter. Actually, shorter, higher, longer, lower. Okay. Man, I'm having a hard time. Okay, so for the third tuning slide, you want to push this out when longer, lower pitch. Longer, lower pitch. You want to lower the pitch to make it longer, okay? So for the third tuning slide, yes. Longer, lower, shorter, higher, okay? Yes. So anytime you're using anything with the third valve tuning slide, you want to use the third valve. Anytime you're using the third valve, you want to use the third valve tuning slide. So usually on trumpet, C sharp and D, like C sharp below the staff and D below the staff, are usually really sharp. Most times E flat, D sharp are really sharp notes on the trumpet. So you want to kick out that third valve tuning slide just a bit so it lowers the pitch. Anytime you use your first valve tuning slide, you want to kick out the first. Anytime you use your first valve, you want to kick out the first valve tuning slide. All right, so because usually F, first space F is sharper, and also A and B flat are really sharp on the horn. So you want to kick this out if you can. I don't, because I don't have a saddle on mine, so I have to make the adjustment. But anyway, that's how you use the tuning slide. The main tuning slide, the third valve is for any notes with the third valve. First valve is for any notes with the first valve. So A, B flat, F, and C sharp, D, E flat, E sharp. All right, so hopefully that did something. Simone says, thank you so much. No problem. For some reason, it took me a while to explain that. But okay, hopefully you guys aren't too bored with that. All right, so let's start this exercise starting on B. So we're gonna do a B major triad, 2 octaves, and then that top note is gonna be G sharp, right above the staff at 70 BPM. All right. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so what happened there? If you noticed, my sound stopped a little bit when I tried to decrescendo, or not decrescendo, but go down the exercise. And so what happened was my lips were too closed, my aperture was too small, and I didn't follow through with my air. So what I have to do next is just really focus on not closing off too much to where it closes off the sound and the vibration, and also not losing that air control and that air speed as I go down. So let me try it again and see if it's any better. One, two, one, two, three. Okay. So if you're doing it, if you're trying it, Xavier says, sorry. So do you just let the air raise the pitch or both the lips in the air? That's a good question. And that's a good segue into the three things that you need to do in order to play higher notes on the trumpet. So the first technique is I want to talk about, and what I said before is fast air. Fast air will help you get to the note. But like I said before in the video that I uploaded yesterday, is these three elements have to work together. They can't work alone because you want to be able to play the notes really smoothly, note to note. Just like if we're playing the piano really nice and smooth, you want to have that same mentality when you're playing the trumpet. Okay, so that's the first thing. You need fast air. The second thing you need is tongue arch. Tongue arch is the different shapes in your oral cavity to make notes higher or make notes lower. So in my video that I talked about, in my opinion, I think there's like three main positions, but it's not stagnant. It's like a spectrum of higher, lower, and all that stuff. So the three main positions is saying as like a neutral position. So if I'm playing my G, second line G, I'm thinking right? That's the neutral position, I like to call it. Now, if I want to go up to the next note, and that next note can be anything. These are slight movements, by the way. But if you're doing slurs like lip flexibilities and things like that, you use your tongue to help you maneuver to the next note. Because we only have three vowels, the tongue is also a way that how we change pitch. So is the neutral position, E is the higher position. So E helps you get to higher notes. So let me just demonstrate like a lip slur from G to C. So I'm gonna go I-E, I-E. But I'm using a little bit more faster air to get to that C, but I'm also using my tongue arch. The third thing is aperture control. And aperture control is just, besides photography, aperture control is just simply in the middle of your lips, it's the hole that lets air pass through. And so you can make that either bigger or smaller. And these are slight movements, by the way. And so what I like to think about is how thick or how thin my airstream is. In order to kind of get an idea of how open or how closed or smaller my airstream, or how open or closed my aperture is. But I like to think about airstream instead of actually opening and closing the aperture. So in my video, I talk about like these two items. I had like a noodle, and then I had like a pencil. And the noodle was thinner, and the pencil was a little bit thicker. And so I used as an example that pencil as like for lower notes with a bigger airstream, and then that noodle I used it as an example for smaller notes, higher notes with a smaller airstream. So I like to think about it that way. And these three things have to work together. If they don't, then the sound isn't, in the transition from note to note isn't as clear. For example, if I just use faster air on G to C, it will sound like this. I'm just going to use faster air. So everything else is going to remain constant. It's going to remain the same, but I'm just going to use faster air. You kind of hear that pop. Ba-ha. It's kind of like a jerking motion, right? I'm using that air to kind of speed up and initiate that higher frequency of a note. Now I can also manipulate the pitch just by manipulating the tongue arch. So going from I, E. I'm just gonna manipulate the pitch going from I, E, and everything else is going to remain the same. So just like this. You kind of hear you kind of hear me transition from I to E. It's kind of like a slow progression. I, and then it pops right into that position or that note where it vibrates or whatever. So that's one way. You can use the tongue as a way to speed up the air and cause like some compression to get that higher note. Now, if I used just my aperture, like if I was just going to use a slower, like a faster airstream or smaller airstream, I can also get a higher note, but it's not going to sound clean. It's not going to have a good progression or transition. So I'm kind of making my aperture smaller. So I'm not moving my tongue. I'm not changing my air speed, but I'm making my airstream smaller to get that note to pop out. And so using these things individually is not, like I said before, it's not going to have a smooth transition from note to note. So these three things have to work together in time. That's also another tip. If you can't do these in time, time is everything. So you have to do this, in time, in rhythm, so you can prep, right? So I'll just do G to C. Right? So those are the three things that you need in order to play higher notes. Those are the techniques I like to say, because they cause compression, and compression. These are good compressions. So these are three good compressions that you can use to play higher notes. But again, they have to work together. So yeah. So I'm glad someone asked that question. All right. If there's any other questions, please let me know. If you like this video so far, please don't hesitate to give me a like on the video, because it helps me get these videos out to more people so they can learn just like you. So if you can, please give this video a like. I really appreciate that. Okay, so where were we? We're on B. Xavier says, thank you very much. I understand now. I realize I never really use all, so now I will practice that. Awesome. So now we're on, I think we did B. Now we're gonna start on C. So it's gonna be a C major triad, 2 octaves, and then on top is gonna be an A above the staff. One, two, 1, 2, three. All right, so if you're playing along with me, you can play right now. 1, 2. It's your turn. 1, 2, ready, go. Da, 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 dee, da, 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 da. All right, let's play the same thing. So now we're using regular fingerings. So before we used the regular fingerings for C, E, G, and up above. So now we're just gonna go up a half step, starting on D flat, or you can think of C sharp. And the next note is gonna be B flat on top, or you can think about it as C sharp, starting on A sharp, starting on C sharp. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready. Again, use that third valve tuning slide to make sure that that lower note is nice and in tune. Okay. All right, your turn. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Da 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 dee, dee, da 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 da. Okay. Odu says, "Boss, hey, what's going on?" So we're going through the range exercise. It's the first link in the description, so you can download it for free up until Friday. So you have until Friday, this Friday, I think it's May 11th, to download it for free and just work on it, practice it, shed it. Okay. All right, now let's start on D. So we're going to do a D major triad. Da da. Ba da 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 da. And that top note is going to be B. Top note is going to be B. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready. Okay, so if you noticed, if you notice that my notes are really cracking, trying to get up to that higher note. So what was happening was my airstream was not consistent enough, and I was losing. I was trying not to freak out, but I was using my airstream to really get the air to move farther, right, farther out. Okay. All right, so your turn if you want to play this. 1, 2 on D. 1, 2, ready, go. Cool, I sang it right. All right, now as I get higher on this exercise, I like to keep going down to the lowest note in that triad. So I make sure that all the notes are really connected. And I'm using one embouchure setup as I'm doing this. All right. All right. So let's start on E flat. E flat on E flat. Hold on for 1 second. All right, sorry about that, folks. For some reason, Alexa was playing some music, and
Here's a station you might like. Top Dance from
uh,
Amazon Music.
Alexa, stop music. Okay, so in the other room, somehow the music started playing. Really weird. I don't know. They might be watching or hearing us. All right. All right. Gareth says, superb lesson. Would it be possible for you to stand facing the other way when you step back to play? It will make easier for the slow ones to see what is going on with the keys and slides. Oh, so just like stand this way, stand that way. I can do that. Yeah, no problem. That's crazy that music started playing. It's live, folks. All right, cool. All right, so we're on E flat. E flat. So E flat major triad, 2 octaves. The top note is going to be C. So we're gonna hit that high C. Okay, here we go. BPM is 70. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready. Okay, so as I go up, I'm going down. I'm going further down. So I'm also hitting those pedal tones and then trying to make sure that my setup is just one setup. I'm not having multiple setups for mid range, high range, low range, and pedal range. So I'm combining everything together to be as efficient as possible. So was that good for the trumpet position? Just let me know. All right. So your turn. If you want to play this, let's start on E flat. E flat. 1, 2, ready, go. Oh, da, 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 da. Low notes, okay? So I like to go, as I go higher, I go lower as well, with not only lower notes, but with pedal tones as well. And for pedal tones, I'm using the same fingering as the octave above. So for E flat, okay. So that's what I'm doing. For pedal tones, I'm using the same fingering for the octave above. Mama Washington, I like the singing and fingering at the same time. Yeah, definitely. That's also how you improve your ear. So what's important to know is that I'm glad you brought that up. Is that it's very important that you know how to sing these notes. And so if you can sing it, then you have it internalized. And so if you can hear it before you play it, that gives you a better chance of hitting those notes. Because if you're just mindlessly playing the notes and you're not really thinking ahead, you're gonna miss it and you're gonna have accuracy problems. So yes, sing the notes and finger along to make that correlation between the voice, what you hear in your head, and the trumpet. So yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, Mom. All right. So now let's start. Now let's start on E. Play E major triad, E, G sharp, B, E, and then that top note is going to be C sharp. That top note is going to be C sharp. Okay, so here we go. So starting on E. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready. Okay, so your turn. Go ahead and play that. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Da 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 da. I fingered something wrong, but ended up on E. Okay. Okay, so start on E. So when it gets to this higher register, just keep singing. As Dory would say, just keep singing instead of just keep swimming. Just keep singing in your head as you go higher. Don't lose it up here in your head. Okay. So also when I play higher, I want to back off on the air a little bit. So I don't want to play too loud because I want the finesse. I want the technique. If I play too loud and I overblow, I'm not really learning the correct amount of air or the right amount of air that will allow me to play the note efficiently at any dynamic. So being able to play this really soft, really quiet, as quiet as possible, will help you build that technique. Knowing the right amount of air, the right amount of tongue arch, the right amount of support in the belly, so you can get those higher notes out. So what I encourage you to do is not to overblow, but to try to, as you're trying to build your range, try to play as softly as possible and as comfortable, so you can get that higher note out efficiently as possible. Because if you're overblowing, you're not going to learn that. You're not going to learn the technique to play that note. And every time you try to go for it, it's going to be it's not going to be the right sound, and you're going to just be working way too hard. And so I don't want to work any harder than I have to on this horn, right? Because it makes us work hard enough already. All right, so I want to make sure everything is nice and easy, starting from the lower note, going up, going all throughout the horn. So keep that in mind. Okay. Now, have you guys played it already? Da, 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 da. If not, I'm gonna go to play F. So I'm gonna play F major triad, 2 octaves, and then on that top note, I'm gonna play that D. I'm gonna play D above the staff. All right, here we go. Starting on F major scale, F major triad. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready. Okay, so I'm getting to my breaking point here. I'm getting to my breaking point with that D. So I'm gonna let off on the air, let off on the loudness, the dynamic. I'm just gonna focus on air speed. Singing in my head, I'm just gonna focus on speeding up that air. So the higher you go, the farther you go. The farther that airstream needs to go, and the faster it goes. Okay, you guys try it. Dum, boom. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Ba, da, 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 can't sing that low. But yeah, sing, sing, sing. I encourage you to sing. Please sing. If you can't sing it, you can't play it. In my opinion, because it's not internalized. All right. All right. So now we're on F sharp. So we played this. We're now playing this exercise an octave above where we started. Okay. So let's do that. Gotta catch my breath here because I'm talking and trying to play at the trumpet at the same time. All right. So also that's a good point. Make sure you're nice and relaxed. If you're sitting or you're standing, make sure you're nice and relaxed. You can't see my feet, but my feet are shoulder width apart. I'm very centered. My head isn't too straight up. It's right. It's right where it needs to be, and I'm just bringing the horn to my face. So if you have to stretch your neck out like this, just try to bring it back and be really relaxed. Everything should be relaxed. No unnecessary tension, because the more tension you have in your body, the less like the more inaccuracies. The sound won't be as good. So try to be as and actually I should actually transition to the don'ts. So we talked about the three elements of playing higher notes. And this causes bad compression. So what we talked about earlier was good compression. Now let's talk about bad compression and what those things look like and feel like. All right, so the first one. Now, if you have to play higher notes using these things, then there's something going on. So the first bad compression I want to talk about is mouthpiece pressure. Mouthpiece pressure. So you want to avoid that as much as possible. So try not to. Well, there's going to be some pressure as you go up and as you go higher, but you don't want to mash. You don't want to mash your mouthpiece into your lips, because what that is going to do is, yeah, it's going to help you get that higher note, by making the aperture smaller. But what you're also doing is cutting off blood flow. You're cutting off blood flow in the lips, and that's not good. And that's how a lot of people lose endurance, because they're not letting the blood flow back into their chops and their embouchure. The second one is throat compression. So there's a fourth element of good compression that I want to talk about, and that's breath control, and it's coming from here, from the belly, right? So what a lot of folks do is that they use the wrong compression, and they kind of use the compression. If you catch yourself using that type of compression, stop and just relax, right? Now, so you don't want to use that. That's called the Valsalva maneuver or something like that. That that way of compressing and using that muscle to go to the bathroom. So I'm just gonna end it there. So don't use that. So a good way to know if you're using that or not is to play a note. Take the horn off your face and just speak. When you take the horn off your face, you should be able to speak really clearly. And if it doesn't come out nice and clear, that's when you know you're using the Valsalva maneuver. Or let me demonstrate what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna play a note. I'm gonna do the demonstrate the bad thing and then demonstrate the good way. So bad thing first. Like I can't even speak. Like I can't speak. So now just relax, and blow. Aaron. I should be able to take the horn off my face and just say my name or say a sentence. Aaron, right? So it should be that easy and that free, okay? So that's bad compression number 2. The third bad compression is stretching, stretching the embouchure back and smiling. It causes a really strained and really pinched sound. So you want to keep make sure as you mouthpiece. Think more forward, put more lip into the cup. Go and think forward. So kind of bring the lips in a little bit. So you don't want to and your mouthpiece is on, is going to cut off the blood flow in your chops. And so that too is going to make you have really bad endurance because you're cutting off the blood flow. Because you don't have as much lip as you did before. So always think a little bit forward when you're playing higher, okay? And then the next thing in the fourth back compression is actually pinching and rolling the lips in to get a higher note. So what I just did there, I rolled my lips in to make a higher note. So you don't want to do that, even though you do get higher notes, it's not efficient whatsoever because the air isn't getting through, right? So those are the 4 compressions. And I see folks leaving, and I know I'm talking too much, but those are the 4 compressions. Mouthpiece pressure, throat pressure, the tension you get in your neck, stretching, smiling, your embouchure, and also trying to roll your lips in, right? So those are the four bad compressions. All right. Let's move on to the exercise. Let's play more of this exercise. So let's start on F sharp. Again, we're gonna do the major triad, and if you don't have the PDF, go ahead to the first description. Go ahead to the first link in the description, and you should be able to see it and download it. And it's for free until Friday. All right, so let's do this. Let's do that. Starting on F sharp, that top note is going to be D sharp. Okay. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready. Okay. So I'm near my limits, right? Because the sound is a little bit smaller. Now I just have to really think about speeding up the air. I don't really care about how big the sound is for now. That will come later. I'm just worried about getting the note out. All right. So now you guys play it now. Dog. 1, 2. Hey Omega, what's up? 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Da, 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 da. I lost my place, but you guys, that's the idea. Just I sang the right notes. All right, here we go. All right, now let's play it on G. And thank you everyone that has tuned in. All 9 of you that are watching right now, I really appreciate your attention, and thank you for joining me so much. Hopefully this is helpful to anyone out there watching this live or watching this on a replay. Also, there's a quick tip. If you're just joining me, learn that you can actually rewind back So you can rewind while we're live right now. You can rewind it as we're live. So if you miss anything, you can do that live here right now. Okay, Michael says, I'm anxious to try your exercises. Awesome. Gareth says, really helpful. Thanks. No problem. I do says, I'm from Nigeria. Thanks for the lesson. I'm in Nigeria Army Band Corps. We don't have much time to rehearse more stuff like this. Thanks a lot. No problem. Thank you guys for joining me. 13 people now. Thank you. All right, so we just played F sharp. Let's start on G. So we're gonna play G major, triad, 2 octaves, and the top note is gonna be E. So we're almost there. Hopefully, let's see if I make it to double G. I'm not really sure. I've played it before a couple times. We'll see if I can play it right now. Right now, it's not looking too good, but I'll have faith and I'll have hope. All right, here we go. Starting on G. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready. So I gotta use lots of fast air. And so when I think about fast air, I'm thinking about really engaging the belly here. Tips on if one can buzz the note but not play the note. Now that's a good question. There are some benefits. There are some benefits to buzzing, like on the mouthpiece. But I'm actually not buzzing. I'm not buzzing that note on my mouthpiece. Actually playing. It's really just air. So you really don't need to buzz on your mouthpiece to be able to get notes out, because there's already air in this thing, and all you have to do is blow to really ignite it and make the horn vibrate. So it's really just air. Right? So I'm blowing air. I'm not really buzzing. Right? Oh, that's hard. So that's gonna be hard to try to maneuver, but I'm not buzzing. I'm not buzzing my lips because I can't buzz that high on my lips. There might be people that can, I don't know, but for me, I can't buzz that high. And so it's just really air and how you move it, how fast it goes. Hopefully that answers your question. Michael says, I'm sorry I was not able to comment earlier. Only now am I able to add comments. No problem. Leandro, hi from Seville, Spain. Thank you for your videos. They are great. Thank you so much. I'm really glad you guys enjoy them. Okay? If you have any questions, just please let me know. All right, so we started on G. Now let's do A flat. So that top note is going to be F. We're getting up there. Let's do it. I just got to focus on fast air and making sure this is not tight. I don't want to think about tight. I just want to think about firm, right? Because as you go higher, the compression or the resistance gets higher. So in order to not fight it, but just like blow, you have to blow faster. Garrett says, I find it easier to buzz the high notes with the mouthpiece. Also, freeze buzz along to the radio in the car helps. Also, yeah. So buzzing does have its benefits, no doubt. Especially with beginners, it helps really. It helps firm up the embouchure. It helps with ear training. Sometimes if I have trouble with flexibility, I would do glisses on my mouthpiece, and then just gliss it and buzz it. So I would do something like that to really help me figure out like where my tongue needs to go, how fast my air needs to go in order to buzz that pitch. So that's buzzing on the mouthpiece is a good tool, but I don't think it's needed to play the trumpet. You don't really need to buzz your lips, even though I do have a video on it. It's good for beginners, but it's not needed. And it's also, for me, it's a lot more efficient to make a better sound, um, a more center sound if I'm not buzzing. Josh says, why is it important to K-tongue in the upper register instead of normal tonguing? Can you demonstrate? Well, I really haven't done that, but it's a good way. I've heard it's just a good way to increase your accuracy. Because sometimes in a band arrangement, you have to hit a certain note, and that's why timing is important. Timing and knowing that tongue arch and the right amount of airspeed. So that's all timing. Everything has to be aligned. So in order to be able to do that, a K tongue will help you strengthen your normal tonguing. If you're tonguing with the tip of your tongue or whatever. So yeah, that's the benefit. I've never really tried it, but I do note accuracy exercises where I will play one note like Bob and just play it on beat one, Bob, Bob, and just try to hit it and see how many times I can hit it accurately without overshooting it or undershooting it or an air ball, you know. So one, two. So that was a little chip right there. So I'm good for two. So doing note accuracy drills is a good way to gain accuracy. William says, what do you recommend for someone who can play a double G at home but can't do it at school due to anxiety? Sorry if you already answered this. I just joined in. So anxiety, I did have a masterclass about that, and I talked about tips about that. The thing about anxiety, and I'm actually kind of nervous right now. It's all about it's all about doing the practice, like doing the practice at home, and knowing that what you're doing is you're doing your best, you know. So prepare as much as you can at home, and also the tips that I give you in that other masterclass, I think is number 8. Like recreate those symptoms you get when you get nervous. So if you start to shake, or if you run out of breath, or if you have sweaty palms, like in your practice room, reimagine those things, like recreate those things in a practice room, so you know how to deal with those things in the band room. Because for me, when I get nervous, my lips get really wet. And so I play dry, and I talked about this earlier. So I play dry, so anytime I get nervous, my lips get really wet, and so my mouthpiece just slips all over the place. And so when I first started practicing getting nervous, I would drink tons of water and make my lips really wet. So I had to learn how to cope with the things that get me nervous. So what I advise you to do is figure out the symptoms that gets you nervous, and recreate those symptoms in your practice. And then just learn how to cope with them. So another thing that would happen to me is that my heart would start beating, right? And I run out of breath. So do some jumping jacks. Like, do a couple jumping jacks, do some push-ups, get that heart rate going, and then pick up the instrument and start to play. And learn how to cope with those symptoms that you get when you're nervous. So hopefully that was some tips. You can look at the masterclass that I talk about performance anxiety, just to get a better in-depth explanation on how I like to practice it and stuff like that. Okay. All right. So, Dr. Spicen, opinion on Schaller mouthpieces, especially Bobby Shoe. I never played the Bobby Shoe mouthpiece, but this is my lead mouthpiece right here. It has the same feel as my 3C, and I believe that you need the equipment for the right job. You need the right equipment for the right job. So even if it's another horn, or if it's a mouthpiece that helps you get to the higher registers, do that because it's more efficient. And nobody wants to work harder than they need to. I sure don't. Okay, so when you're trying out mouthpieces, take a friend, take a trumpet buddy, or maybe take your trumpet teacher with you and try a few. Do a blind test and to see what the feel of it. Does it feel good? It might not feel good, but that's not an indicator that you shouldn't use it. Maybe it's just it's just that you're not used to it. But I like to have the same feel of the mouthpiece. And I think that's the rim. I'm not really an equipment type of guy. I don't really delve too deep into that. I just know what works for me. But yes, get the right mouthpiece for the right job, please, because your life will be a lot easier that way. Your trumpet life, anyway. So yeah, Schaller. But what I recommend is that you practice building your range on your deeper mouthpiece. So I'm using my 3C today to practice my range, because when I switch over to my lead mouthpiece, it'll be a lot easier because I don't have to work as hard, right? So that's kind of my way of doing it. Other people have their ways, and get their opinions, see what they do, and see what works for you the best. So yes, get the right piece for the right job. Either mouthpiece or trumpet, whatever you need to do in order to make trumpet playing easy and fun as possible. Okay, so hopefully that helped. Josh says for beginners, I would recommend a deep mouthpiece 3C to develop good fundamentals also. Yeah, I mean, I got this mouthpiece. I've had this mouthpiece since high school. It's all worn and all that, but yeah, I'm not really a mouthpiece guy, equipment guy. So let's get back. But yeah, get the right piece for the right job. Okay, so we played up to an F, I think. Yes, we played up to an F. Now let's play up to an F sharp. So what would that be? The sixth of. So let's start on A. A major triad, 2 octaves. That F sharp is going to be on top. Let's see if I can get it out, folks. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, try it again. I told you it wasn't gonna be pretty. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that was a struggle. Okay, so what I had to focus on was support and fast air. And also, Also, what I did was I held it out longer because I want to kind of fine tune where my tongue arch need to be in order to make the air go faster and keep the pitch. So as you go high, you may need to hold the note out longer just to kind of get a feel for it. All right. All right. All right. Your turn. If you guys can play this already, um, give us some tips below. If you can play these notes already and it sounds awesome, I know tons of guys that can play these notes way better than I can. So if you're one of those guys, put some tips in the chat. Especially give me some tips. I'm not afraid to, to learn. So give some tips in the chat, or if you're looking at this on the replay, give some tips in the comment section to help everybody out. All right. So your turn. One, two, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now that double G. The F sharp came out. It was small. These small notes, they'll be small for a little bit, but as you play more, they'll get a little bit stronger. Okay, so let's see if I can play that double G. See if I can squeak it out. All right, but all the concepts remain the same. I want to keep at be nice and relaxed. Just speed up my air. Have as less have as I want to decrease the tension as much as possible. Okay. So even you might see me kind of grip the handle, and then release, because I want to make sure that I'm not really strong arming it. I want to make sure my arm is nice and relaxed. So if you see me gripping it and then kind of relax, I'm maintaining my tension in my body, trying to loosen up. Okay. All right, let's start. Let's get that double G, hopefully. So we're gonna do B flat major, 2 octaves with that double G on top. All right, 1, 2, 1, 2, ready. All right, so it's really small, folks. And so what I'm going to do is that after you get to the point where you can't play it, rest, and then try it again until you can't. Rest for a little bit, and then try it again, maybe a few minutes, and try it a second time. Because your body you have to fail. You have to allow yourself to fail. So also relax. And I'm failing in front of you guys so you know kind of what I'm doing, what it sounds like, and all that. So fail so your body kind of knows what it needs to do next. Okay, so don't be afraid if you can't get the sound out. Still keep the air moving. Like, don't stop the air. You might have seen me like keep playing even the note was not even sounding. Maybe you could have heard it a little bit, but I kept my air blowing, and then I just continued the exercise going down. All right, so I didn't stop. I just kept going, kind of acting like I already got the note, and then I just went back down the exercise. Okay, so let me try it again to see if I can get it, at least a little bit. All right, so here we go. And then after this, I'm done. All right, let's do, it's B flat. So relax, get all the tension out. Taking a deep breath through your nose and out through your mouth. One, two, one, two. Okay, so I'm done. I'm done for the day. All right, so that's what I would do every day, or at least a couple times a week. Um, and I'm not tired. The thing is, my chops are not tired. They're not burnt out. Like I can still play for maybe another hour or two because I'm using my air efficiently. I'm using the air compression in my belly. I'm using everything efficiently. Yeah, I can't think of another word. But yeah, so I'm using my tongue arch. I'm speeding up that air. I'm doing all the right things. So when you do all the right things, that's when notes come out and you can play. Uh, I need a dictionary because there needs to be another word for efficiently. All right, so yes, you play everything nice and easy, right? Nice and relaxed. Okay, so I had a few questions. Also want to address beginners that are having trouble, well, not with those higher notes, but even notes that are either a little bit above the staff or right in the staff. So what I recommend that you guys do is play chromatic scales. Play chromatic scales. Excuse me, because it's small intervals in between. And that's the one thing that has helped me build my range when I injured myself playing too much and not resting and all that stuff. So what I did was I played chromatically and I went up optimally. Yes, Gareth. Yes, yes. Um, so yeah, I played chromatic scales, and this is what I would do. I will play really because I couldn't play really long. So when I injured myself, I can only play maybe 5 minutes at a time, maybe on a good day. So I had to be very efficient with uh, with what I was doing. And so this is what I did. I did chromatic scales. Hopefully you guys know your chromatic scale. So I started from a really easy note. So C below the staff. And this is what I did. Let me turn the other way so you guys can see. And everything really soft. Everything is really soft, and I hardly put the mouthpiece on my chops, right? Just to lessen up the mouthpiece pressure. So play really soft, and don't worry about tone. Just worry about getting the note out. Because when I played, my sound was terrible anyway, right? So play really soft. And it's okay if the notes don't come out. If it's like a flaw, just relax and just let the air do the work and just push down the fingers. And then what I would do, start on C and then start on C sharp. Just go up. Start on the next note. Then rest. Then go to D. And I did that until I couldn't do it anymore. Of course, I rested, but I did it until I reached my limit as far as high notes go. So C, like C was at that time, C in the staff was a major challenge. So I had to work up to it each and every day. Be very patient. Okay, so that's what I recommend that beginners do, especially if you're working on going lower, going down. Start on C and go down. Don't worry about if the air is if your sound is very airy. That's okay at first. Just focus on just a nice airstream going forward. Everything sounds the same. Everything's nice and easy. Everything is easy at a soft dynamic. And then go one more. And then go all the way down till you get to F sharp. Okay, so it might not come out, and you might have air balls, and that's okay. What you need to do if you have to go lower, if you want lower notes, you have to drop the jaw a little bit, and I don't think I talked about the third position of the tongue. So there's ah, the neutral position, e for higher position, and oo. Say those things: ah, e, ah, ooh. And the tongue in the oral cavity kind of drops down a little bit, and it makes the oral cavity a little bit bigger, opens it up a little bit. So when you go lower, you have to use a lower tongue position. Drop the jaw a little bit, and it has to be a bigger airstream. Okay, so that's what I did when my chops, when I injured my chops, and I got this air abrasion, this wind abrasion. It affected my top lip. So anytime I played my instrument, my top lip burned like someone put like alcohol like right on it, on a flat, on a fresh wound. So what I had to do is move the mouthpiece up for me and get it out of the red area. Okay, so that's what I did. That's what I did. I think if there's any other questions, just let me know before I get out of here. This live stream is almost 90 minutes long. I appreciate all 14 of you guys joining me, and everyone that has joined me before and prior. Thank you for your attention. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thanks, Xavier. Prono says, will you be doing any more trumpet lick videos? I can, if you guys would like that. I can do that, no problem. I'm actually learning a solo right now. Promo says, also thank you for the beginner tips. No problem. No problem. Jane says, thank you. No problem. You guys are welcome. So those are my beginner tips for beginners that are struggling with just notes in the staff and a little bit below the staff. There was a few questions I had, and I want to get to from the masterclass. And I forgot to say, like, if you want me to hear whatever you're working on, say if you're having trouble with something with your trumpet playing, I have this free masterclass group that you can join using Google Classroom. So the information is down in the description box below. It's free to join. Just follow the instructions and input. There's a code in there. Just go to the website, input that code, and you're in that class. And what you can do in there is upload videos of things that you want me to hear, want me to listen to, and give you some feedback on. So I like to do this. I've been doing these master classes pretty much every week on Wednesdays at this time, and I can give you feedback right here on the YouTube channel. Okay. So if you're interested in that, then follow the instructions below in the description box, and we can get started. So here are some questions I got in the masterclass group. Daniel says, haven't been able to play past the A flat crisply and able to project the sound. I can hit a C, but only at a very low value. And I'm just gonna say what I said before is just be able to use those three elements cleanly, or not cleanly, but together. So make sure that you're very nice and relaxed. Get rid of all those bad compression habits and try to adopt some good compression habits. So tongue arch, fast air, and aperture control. Learning how to put those things together. If you're a beginner, use chromatic scales to help you get up and increase your range gradually. Sometimes what I figured out when I was kind of in that beginner status, when I injured my chops, doing lip slurs was so hard. Like I couldn't do lip slurs because the interval was too big. So chromatic scales, I mean, it's the smallest interval in Western music. So I use chromatic scales as a way to do that. So what I say is do some chromatic scales up to A flat. And also do some note accuracy drills. So be able to hit the note like right on one, to learn like where the tongue needs to be, how much air you need to, how fast the air needs to go, and how much air you need to put into the horn. So what I would do is you can start on C. And then start on E. Try to play this as soft as possible so you learn how to get the technique. And then when you get up there, maybe hold it and then start tonguing it. And then play like a accuracy drill. So see how many times in a row you can get that A flat out. Right on one. One. So yeah. So that's how I work on it. So try that. Try chromatic scales at a soft dynamic. And then also, if you're trying to get that C to sound bigger, is practice crescendoing and decrescendoing on all the notes. So once you get it, like once you have that note, it might be really small, but try to crescendo a little bit. Right? Try to use some dynamics to get there. And then you learn how to play it at a bigger dynamic. And do that every day or a few times every day, maybe 3 days out of the week, over maybe 6 months at a time. And then you should be able to play it at a nice full dynamic. Yeah, it's really hard to play soft on the trumpet. You really have to make sure that the air is you're feeding air constantly. It's just like, think of a laser beam. A laser beam is nice and consistent, right? All right, I have some questions in here. Xavier said, "How do you know when you damage your chops?" That's a good question. How you know is when every time that you pick up the horn, it hurts. Like before you, like when you warm up, it hurts, and that's what happened to me. When I started doing my long tones on a G, on a second line G, it hurt. It hurt to play, and that was because my mouthpiece was too low, and what ended up happening was my air um, my air caused like a rug burn on the top lip. Excuse me. So if it hurts every time you play, um, and if you have a bad sound and you can't really fix it, if your endurance is really shot, like all those things are kind of indicators. Like first, if it hurts to play, and you just started putting the horn on your face, then you know something is wrong. I knew something was wrong. All right. Anything else? Cool. Someone gave him the class code. Yes, it's SF3SI. That's the class code. Thank you, Gareth. Anything else? True that, true that. From Prono. Brazil from Marlon. Marlon from Brazil. I said that backwards. All right. Xavier says, thank you. Prono says, do you have any small quick tips for double tonguing? Yeah. Quick tip is practice whispering. Like whisper, like first say tuku, 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 tuku out loud. Tuku, 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 or dugu, do. Dugu, 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 do. And then turn it into a whisper. That's tip number 2. Turn it into a whisper. So I'm whispering. Then it turns into a wind pattern. So I'm blowing. So I'm not really saying it. Yeah, taka could work, but I feel like taka is too far back, and you want that tongue to be a little bit forward, because if you have to go all the way back to taka, like it hits so far back in the back of the top of the mouth, I'll say two or gu, that brings it forward. Yeah, cool. Yeah, too cool. Yeah. So say it out loud, taka 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 taka, and then or tuku 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 tuku, dugu dugu do, and then whisper it, dugu 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 dugu, and then turn it into a wind pattern. So air is coming out. Then next thing you do is do wind patterns on the mouthpiece. So transfer what you do on the mouth to the mouthpiece. Right? Same thing with triple tonguing. It's the same process. And then try to get your tongue up to speed. So try to get that tongue a little bit faster when you're doing wind patterns. So maybe 80 BPM. So tuku 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 tuku. Try to get it that fast, like this. So say it out loud. So try to get it that fast with wind patterns first. So first say it out loud, whisper, wind patterns, then apply the wind pattern to the mouthpiece, then speed up the tempo to 80 BPM, and then apply it to scales. C major scale. One note at a time. Right? So do one. Start on one note, and then just go up to the fifth, because as you get higher, it's going to get a lot harder. So go and do this on all 12 keys if you can. The goal here, the goal, the overall goal is to make your ku or your gu attack sound just like your single tonguing. So you do have to practice gu by itself. And it's going to sound disgusting, but you have to do it. So what I recommend you do is just practice the gu attack. Gu 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 gu. So go back and forth to see how well you can make the gu attack sound just as clean and sound similar to the tu attack or the gu or the do attack. So practice the gi practice the G or the K attack by itself. It's gonna sound gross, but it's gonna strengthen that muscle. So those are my quick tips, and it's the same thing for triple tonguing, but instead of tu ku tu, say tu tu ku 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 tu, and then turn into a whisper. Tu tu ku tu tu ku tu ku tu tu ku tu tu ku tu tu ku tu tu ku. Then do a wind pattern. Then do mouthpiece with the wind pattern. Then go to a scale, one note at a time. And triple tonguing is my hardest one. Okay, so go up to the root to the fifth. It's been a while since I practiced multiple tonguing because I really haven't had to use it. But yeah, that's how you practice it. Those are my quick tips. That rail, sorry for the late question, but whenever I play E on the top of the staff, I push my lips too hard with my mouthpiece. Do you have any tips that I can fix? Yep. Tip number one is loosen up the grip in the left hand. So you're only holding it with your thumb and your kind of your, what finger is that? Your middle finger, or maybe your index finger. So that's the grip. So learn how to play it like that. Try not to grip it like that. And then what you also want to do is when you're playing trumpet is you want to widen up your stance. So take your elbows out. Like bring your elbows out like you have like golf balls or tennis balls under your armpits. Because if you do that, you're less likely to do this motion. So open up your stance. So instead of doing this, you can really strong arm your trumpet into your face if your arms are closed like this. So open them up like that. Okay. Also, fast air. Garrett says, I'm teaching myself, so making it up as I go, but I have found doodly doodly seems to work. Yeah, that could work too. Doodly 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 doodly. That's kind of like what is it called? Doodle tonguing by Clark Terry. Doodle doodle daddle daddle deedle deedle. So yeah, that could work too. Simone says, when playing trumpet, do you prefer to stand or sit down? Nowadays, I like to stand. But if you're practicing range, sit down. Or else you'll get lightheaded and you don't want to fall, right? So maybe either stand up next to a couch or something so you can just fall back or whatever. Um, but I like to stand up because sitting is the new smoking. And I like to feel grounded. Sometimes when I sit in a chair, um, I feel like I have more leverage when I stand. And plus, yeah, performance. You stand. So whatever environment that you perform in, I would say practice in that environment. So if you mainly do a lot of sitting in your performances, then practice sitting. If you mainly do a lot of standing, if you're doing like wedding band or if you're playing at a church or whatever, if you're playing at a jazz band, so practice standing. So because it's very different. The two things, sitting and standing while playing, are two different things. Your body has to hold itself up when you're standing, or if you're in marching band or drum corps. So yeah. Bazarine says, this has been a great lesson. You've covered so much. I'm going to have to go back and watch it all again. No problem. Yeah, I did cover a lot of stuff. This is a very long live stream. So hopefully you guys got some stuff out of it. And yeah. Are there any more questions? Oh, also, Steven from the Masterclass group, he had a question. He said, I'm having trouble playing above top line F sharp without producing a pinch sound. So the reason why we get that pinch sound is because we're pinching, we're trying to close the aperture. We're trying to close the aperture in the middle of our chops, and we're trying to create compression by rolling this way. And maybe you might be too tight. Like maybe your oral cavity may be too closed. So you might want to open up the oral cavity a little bit so you get a more open sound. So for instance, so I'm by getting that sound, I'm squeezing the middle of my chops and my oral cavity is pretty closed. So you want to open up. You want to open up, and like you're saying, awe a little bit. Awe. Keep that oral cavity open, and then try not to create compression by squeezing the middle of the chops because you still need that aperture to be open a little bit so you can get air to pass through. Right? So just a little bit more open. Might be a little out of tune, but. All right, Sky says, should you treat your embouchure like muscles and overwork them until they hurt and then wait a bit? That's an interesting question. I wouldn't say hurt. There's a difference between hurt and then being fatigued or being tired. Now, what I advise you to do is to not have to practice to that point. So if you're practicing anything, if you're practicing an exercise, actually time out how long it took you to play that exercise and rest for that long. So if the exercise took maybe 2 minutes and 30 seconds, stop and then rest for that amount of time. Just so your embouchure and your muscles can replenish the blood back into your muscles, because the muscles build when they rest. So that's when they build. They don't build because they're tired. They build when they're resting. So rest as much as possible. Rest as much as you play. Because when I played those high notes, I can still play. I can probably still play another 3 hours. Because I'm using my air efficiently, but also because I rested. I let you guys play the exercise for that amount of time, and I also play some lower notes to cool down. But yeah, you don't want to practice until they just like hurt and you can't, and your lips just feel like balloons on your face. You want to practice smart. So rest as much as you play. Because if you play on very tired lips on embouchures, like you're gonna create bad habits, and you don't want to create bad habits. So rest as much as you play. Simone says, "I'll send a video to you soon of my friend since she sounds buzzy on the trumpet. Make sure it's okay with her because I show these videos on YouTube. So if she doesn't mind me showing her playing, then um, just get her permission first, and then or have her sign up for the group and she'll submit it herself. But I don't want to put anybody out on blast that don't want to be put out on blast." All right, Simons. He also says, "I try to give her the tips I've gotten from your videos, but I'm pretty sure you'd explain it better. I try to explain it as best as I can, as simply as I can, and you won't play as efficiently if you play a lot. Now there is a time where if you have to do a playthrough, you're just gonna have to bear through it. So if you have to play like an etude, or like finals are coming up for university students, so they have to play their juries, and so be able to practice, that that tune in its entirety in your practice session. So a good advice to follow is to practice the end of the etude or of the piece first, and then work backwards. You know, so by the time you get to the beginning, you should be good as far as like endurance and all that. Juries are just like playing exams. So when you go to the university, music school has this thing called juries, where you play for either your teacher and either a brass faculty, somebody to really judge your playing, and it's just a playing final. It's just like finals for music students. So usually during the semester, you would study like 2 or 3 pieces at a time, maybe like a really technical piece. Maybe you do some scales. Yeah, it's pretty scary, but I got through it. So um, you maybe play some scales, you play some technical piece, lyrical piece. It's thundering outside. It's about to rain. Oh, it's raining already. And then you play it in front of the professors. Have I? Yeah, I've had tons of nightmares. Definitely. I've had nightmares about lessons. Like we would have um, like technique exams, and we'll have to play like our scales and thirds and all that. And I talk about that in other master classes, I think. And yeah, like I would have nightmares of just failing. And yeah, most times I would fail. But I would never like fail out. I still got like, if I did fail, you get times to repeat it until you pass it. So it didn't really affect my grade that much. It didn't really affect my grade, and at the the grade that the lowest grade I ever got in applied lessons was a B, and that's with like failing some exams and stuff like that. But you can make them up. So it's scary, but it's just what you have to go through. It's intense. Cam says, "I'm an upcoming freshman for high school. Do you have any pieces or exercise suggestions to practice over the summer? Thank you for being awesome, and thanks to you, and I thanks to you, I made it to all country this year. That's awesome. Great job, man. Any upcoming the one thing I would suggest that you do, Cam, is sight read at least every week. Sight read some music every week. Get your reading ability up. That's probably the best skill that you can accomplish as a musician, is to be a better reader. And plus, if you're reading a etude every week, if you're a freshman, check out the Arbins etudes. the Bordoni lyrical etudes, the Conconi lyrical etudes. Those will kick your butt. So if you they're even though they're lyrical, you can still gain a lot of technique from them. So practice some lyrical etudes, practice some technical etudes. Technical etudes, you can use the Brandt orchestral excerpts, Arbin's characteristic studies. For lyrical studies, you can check out the Bordoni lyrical studies and Conconi lyrical studies. So I would say sight read at least every week, certain styles, and check out some etudes every week. I don't really know about prices, and it depends. It depends on your region. Cool, Cam. Start practicing immediately. No problem. Yeah, yeah. Check out those books if you don't have them already, and yeah, just don't. Also, get a teacher, get a private instructor, because the one thing that happens is that students, study with a teacher all year, all school year, and then when it comes to summertime, they don't study privately anymore, which I don't understand because that should be the. I mean, yeah, teachers are expensive, but it's an investment in yourself, and you have to look at it that way. Even if it's just once a month. I just had a lesson the other month, just like a checkup, you know. At least study once a month with somebody, so someone can hear you play and give you some nice feedback. So don't stop taking private lessons over the summer. All my students out there, don't stop taking private lessons. At least study with somebody once a month, twice a month. But if you're not majoring in music, is it worth to still get a teacher? I mean, it depends on your goals and your motives. If your motive is to, it depends. Like it depends on what you want to accomplish as a musician. If it's just a hobby and you just like playing, then it just depends. Like, what are your motives for playing music? Do you just want to play it for fun, or do you want to play it professionally, or you want to play it, semi-pro? So it just depends. But I recommend if you're really serious, if you're really serious about playing music at a certain level, or if it's just for fun at a certain level, I'll say why not take a lesson. Invest in yourself and take a lesson. Simone says because I'm a late starter and I don't think I'd be suitable for majoring. And that's the thing, you don't have to major in music. Just find a local teacher in your area, a university professor, or somebody that's in your area, or take Skype lessons or whatever, and take lessons that way. You don't have to be a music major to study privately. Garrett says, I never done an exam, so no nightmares, but I do often dream about playing and practicing trumpet. Wish I was as good as I am in my dreams. So we all do. I wish I was as good as in my dreams in real life. But, it's the vision, and that's what motivates me. So it's getting to, we'll never get to a point where we're happy, and that's the beauty of music. That's the beauty of art. Because there's always things to improve, and there's always ways to get better. Some people are intimidated by that, but I think that's motivation. That's motivation to me. I can always grow and become the best musician I can. All right, but I gotta get out of here, folks. Me and my wife have to eat dinner. I'm very hungry, and I'm also a little hoarse. So I'm going to call it. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, thank you so much for watching this masterclass number 10. If you have any questions or any other tips about building range, especially if you're watching this on a replay, put them down in the comments below or put them in the chat. Also, I guess is a good segue. If you are interested in taking lessons, I do teach privately. So if you like to take a lesson with me, there's a link down in the description box below, and you can take a lesson with me, take a free lesson with me, and then after that, we could probably figure out something further. All right. So I also do private lessons, either Skype or in person, usually in the Chicago area. So if you're around that area, we can do it in person. Uh, but yeah, that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully it was enough. Hopefully you guys found this valuable in some way. So I appreciate you guys staying tuned and watching this so much. So again, my name is Aaron, and thank you for watching this live stream. All right, see you in the next video. Peace.